Almost. This is Planet Texas podcast. I have somebody really special here in Austin. He is a musician, he is an artist, he writes songs, he does DJing. He's been all over the world basically. And he decided to come back to Texas. He's actually here in Austin. You can see him perform regularly here. I have Bandeauxx here with me. Thank you, Bandeauxx.
Thank you for having me, Javier. How's everything going?
Oh, it's going good. It's going good. And I'm just on my days off. Decided to talk to you, and you were nice enough to come on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, of course.
Ah,
So a lot of people don't really know about much about you, but a lot of people know about you at the same time.
yeah, I live in a really weird intersection of being like well known and yet completely unknown to people. I've gotten comfortable with that, but I think it's about time that I kicked it to okay, now everybody knows.
So a lot of people don't know, like, what do you mean they know you, but they don't really know you? Well, let me tell you that this man he's done Dr. Pepper commercials. If you've gone across the ocean, he's actually done music for Manchester United, as well as the Health of Athletes. And
Yeah.
those are basically the main ones, but you have a lot more than just those three.
Yeah, so I did a few instrumental pieces. I put them up on this licensing site, Song Trader, and then at least one of them went viral. So I look in TikTok one day just to see what the buzz was about, and I see, oh, there's like an official Manchester United TikTok spot with my music on it, which is crazy, and then like 2,000 something other videos. And apparently, this has been happening under my nose for at least a year when I checked it out. And then from that same song got placed with like Dr. Pepper and a bunch of other sites. So I'm like, oh, this is making moves. And I don't really pay attention to TikTok. Maybe I should at this point. I didn't really pay attention to TikTok, but it was really cool just to see how far music can actually take you without applying a ton of pressure and trying to cook up viral videos and whatnot.
Yeah, because I kind of fall in the same boat. Like I stay off Kick, I stay off TikTok. There's a few of the other social medias that I don't bother with.
Yeah, I over time I've stepped away from Facebook in like a loose sense. Like I pop in every so often, but I'd been there from the beginning, and at this point it's kind of like, all right, I'm not getting what I want out of this, but they keep on making it more useful for small business owners and people who actually need to advertise and people who need eyes on things. Marketplace is kind of cool. So I step in and out, but I'm not on there scrolling the feed trying to figure out what everybody else is up to. I am on Instagram a lot. I'm also on Twitter/X a lot. Snapchat, I check from time to time when I have time. I'm in the middle of a number of projects, including doing like a weekly hotel residency. So most of my spare time is coordinated towards writing and recording more so than checking socials. But I still have to check socials if you know what I mean. Like the one man show thing is a real thing that you can do these days.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll be amazed what you can do with technology now these days.
Yeah, my whole thing these days has been leveraging technology to do what you would normally needed something like 10 to 12 people to do. It's a wonderful time as long as you know how to stay organized, stay scheduled, and keep your eyes on what's important.
It is, it is. And also, like, I've noticed that you have worked with a lot of big time actors and actresses and musicians. And
Yeah, every so often I kind of don't put that to the front of the conversation, but things happen and I try to put myself in a position where I can take advantage of these opportunities and meet people, do interesting stuff because the arts is a very nothing is moving until everything is moving. It's like winning the lottery kind of where it's like one day you're just flipping burgers or just doing whatever part-time and then the next day because you just happen to be right place, right time. Now everything has changed, and now you're on the Planet Texas podcast, for instance.
Of course, of course. And being in Austin kind of helps out a lot since this is one of the big cities for music and
Yeah,
everything weird. It's
yeah.
like,
Music, nightlife. I think it's like voted best nightlife city in the world now.
yeah, we beat Miami and we even beat Saudi Arabia somehow.
Somehow, some way, and it's funny because I'm actually like born and raised in Miami. So to see Austin, so to move to the city that just dethroned the other city that was known for the stuff I was doing, as in like nightlife and music, is like, oh, okay, things work out
Well,
somehow, some way.
there's a lot of bars here in Austin. Like it's so easy just to go bar hopping. Like, and there's so many different places in Austin, Round Rock, Pflugerville, like you name it. There's a hub where you can just get a beer and then trouble. It's like,
Beer with a side of trouble sounds like a good night out to me.
yeah, yeah, a little bit of trouble, just a little bit.
Just a little bit like a shot.
Yeah. Troubles and tacos, you're pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think though with Austin, just as a person who's lived here a while, but not necessarily like of it, how Round Rock and Pflugerville are always looked at as like, oh, that's not Austin or that's outer Austin. And it's like the way people are moving these days, that's as Austin as anything else.
Well, they've been trying to assimilate Pflugerville into Austin.
Is
But
Pflugerville
also,
fighting back?
no, they keep rejecting it, but they're also rejecting like when Round Rock tries to exort Pflugerville. So
Mm.
it's kind of like that rock in a hard place where you just get like smushed in the middle. It's like,
Is Round Rock trying to incorporate Pflugerville?
yeah, they're trying to essentially like erase Pflugerville in a sense, not erase it as in like it's gone,
Make it
but it's
like
all
extended Round
yeah,
Rock?
yeah, absorb it into the community in a sense.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's okay. Like it's all the same to me because I still have to drive through like Kyle and Manor and all the other places. Like I always end up everywhere anyways. And it doesn't even, you don't even know what starts and what ends here in this area.
Yeah, I tell anybody coming in from out of town or thinking about moving to Austin or Texas in general, I always tell them like, I hope you enjoy driving because there's a lot to see and they are not near each other.
Well, there's a lot to do. There's a lot
There's
to
a lot
do
to
in
do.
Austin. Yeah. And when I talk to people that move to Austin, I'm like, go do the Austin, go do what Austin people do. Like, go get in trouble. Like, go do the 1,000 steps and then take the picture next to the bridge. Like, do all the corny stuff because that's what you're here to do. It's
Pretty
like,
pretty much. I run into a lot of people who I think the current wave is a lot of Tesla engineers and they're always looking for something to do. And I'll just get at this point, it's like if I don't know you very well, I'll be like, yeah, just check out the bats under the bridge, do this, do
uh,
that.
I mean, I tell them that, and they're like, "Well, is it cool?" And I'm like, "Well, of course it's fucking cool. Why wouldn't you be doing it?" And then they
They
come
have
back
nothing
and
to base that on.
yeah, they come back and they're like, "If it's not 100% cool, then they don't want to do it." I'm like, "Well, get the fuck out of here. I don't know what you're doing here." It's like,
It's like, well, you could stay in the apartment. That's pretty cool. But if you want to go out, hey, just do the same things everybody else does if your thing is
yeah, it's
just
like,
isn't cool. You have nothing to
well,
base it off of. You ain't lived here long enough. You like saw the point on the map. You
oh,
moved
I
here
know,
because you
like,
threw a dart at the map.
bro, like I had one of my friends come from South Texas. He came from Brownsville,
Mm.
and I took him to Franklin's, and he's like, "Are we really gonna sit here for 2 hours just to get some barbecue?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's what you came here for. Of
Yeah.
course, we're gonna sit here for 2 hours for barbecue."
I still keep hearing about Snows, that one place that's run by an older person with a family recipe, and people camp out for like a day in advance just to get some when they open at like 4 a.m.
Bro, yeah, that stuff is real. Like, God, I know.
That's a real thing.
I took him to Franklin's, and then like next day we went to the Round Rock Donuts.
How'd it go?
Oh, great. So we got the giant donut that's the size of a pizza, which, it never fails.
I've never seen that in real life. People tell me things, but I'm like, it can't be that size. It can't
It's
possibly be
huge.
that size. Nobody
It's
makes donuts that
huge.
big.
It is enormous. It's like, like the Homer Simpson donut.
Yeah.
That's what that is. The Homer Simpson donut.
Yeah, we got to stop telling people to go to Voodoo for that because they got one called the Homer, which it looks like
Yeah.
bar for bar like the Simpsons donut. But if you're talking about the actual king size pizza size joint, I would rather just send them that way.
Yeah, you would rather just like I would rather send them to Round Rock Donut to get the big donut instead of like Voodoo Donut is what you do when you're on Sixth Street and you get like super shit faced anyway. So it's just
Right, but if they're coming to see like what's good about Austin generally, you're gonna send them to Sixth Street regardless.
yeah, but they can discover it when they're drinking. That's just like it's one of the things that it's pink, it's there, and it's next to the bars. I mean, what more do you want?
What more can you want? Free samples.
Well,
I think that's what they want.
there's, there's another thing that's pink that we enjoy, but we can't actually say some of that Sunday.
Dang.
Yeah. But yeah, I always tell them, I'm like, go to if it says world renowned or world famous, go and eat there. Like, man, I took my boy to Gus's. And he didn't like Gus's. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? How do you not like Gus's?
Vegan, vegetarian.
A vagina man.
Ah.
It's like, and then so he got chicken tenders, and I'm like, bro, I did not bring you to Gus's to get fucking chicken tenders.
Some people are just picky eaters, but the thing is, they just don't know what they're missing.
They don't. I'm like, if it says world famous chicken on the fucking sign, eat some chicken.
Not a tender,
No, not a tender. Chicken.
actual chicken. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel you. Yeah, that reminds me of tourists and people who, when they go overseas or anything, they go to McDonald's and they go to Starbucks and they just take all their pictures and that's their tourist experience. And I'm just like, where's the tourism?
No kidding. It's like I remember when I went to Mexico and we went to Walmart.
Oh, I actually like Mexican Walmart. Mexican Walmart is the hookup.
It is. That's just like I laugh when I tell people like you went there's not a Walmart in Mexico. I'm like, there is Walmart. Walmart is worldwide, bro.
Walmart is everywhere. And you know what's crazy? When you leave the US and you go to a Walmart, it's like in the middle of the nicest mall ever. Like a
Yeah,
part of the mall. You really feel like you're shopping. It's like, oh yeah, Hermes, Gucci store, fancy store that you'll never afford in your life. Walmart.
it's like when I went overseas, they have Church's chicken,
I
except
did not know that.
they call it Texas chicken. And it's like, yeah. No, like it's like just randomly in one of the I think it's in Thailand, I think. Thailand or one of the Asian countries.
Yeah.
My homeboy, he has this mail order bride, you could say.
Uh-huh.
Very good looking, and every once in a while they go back to her home country.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not my wife, so I'm not even like, well, go have fun with that. It's like, they're like, you should get your passport. Oh, I do have my passport. Well, why don't you go with us? Because that's your. I'm gonna go with y'all over there. It's like
To do what?
to I guess do whatever it is. Like I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go by myself. Like
Yeah. You don't want to third wheel that trip. Like I can already tell you're like, I'll do this on my own time. I don't like, they get into a fight and now you gotta pick your favorite parent or whatever it is. No thanks.
you're in another country to begin with, and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah. Like eventually you're gonna go on enough walks where you're like, all right, it's been a whole day. I booked it for 7. Think I'm ready to go. Don't do that to yourself.
No. But man, like I have a couple of questions to ask you about music, your producing, generally everything, and we're gonna go through a little bit of it.
I am a mostly open book. I'm going to reserve my right to refuse to answer certain questions due to redacted. But ask away.
That will work. I will live with that. So I have one of my first questions is what motivates you to get into the world of music and technology?
Uh, music and technology. The music side was I got exposed to it on at like an early age, and I was like, oh yeah. I started by wanting to be a DJ, but I couldn't afford DJ equipment then, so I was like learning how to make beats and such. And an arts club had opened up in the school I was going to, so I was like, okay, cool. I'll like try to be a DJ. That seems fun. Looks cool. You can travel. You can do all these things. And then over time, when I was actually able to get my hands on DJ equipment, I left the production stuff alone for a number of years. I saw that you can get really far into DJing, but there's like an upper limit where you have to start making your own music. And from there, I was kind of like trying to do everything myself because it's like vocalists are kind of wishy-washy about things, and I was like, rather than I don't like waiting for people, so I just kind of like, all right, I'll do this myself and I'll live with it. If it sucks, it sucks. If it goes, then I look like a genius, so there's literally no downside. And the technology aspect is I've been around computers since I was really young, and they've always been there, and the technology kind of dictates the medium, so to speak. Like, all right, you start with like a gramophone record player thing. It evolves to like cassettes to CDs. Now we're on MP3s and WAV files and streaming, basically. So it's like always a good idea to indulge my nerd fascinations and just keep an eye on technology as well as how it moves with music because they work together, but they're always at odds. Like Suno, which is an AI based music platform. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is soulless. Oh, the AI." Da da da. And I remember this quote from the book Dune, where they were talking about a war with artificial intelligences, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it wasn't the artificial intelligence that was the problem. It was men controlling that kind of like messed everything up." So that said, I'm like, "Oh, okay. So these tools are just tools." But you still have to know how to use the tool in order to get anything remarkable out of it, anything tangible out of it. Yeah.
Well, they have made like one of the catchiest tunes that I've heard recently.
Really?
Yes, yes, it has. It's called Lucky with Bucky's. I don't know if you
Lucky
heard of
with
that
Bucky's.
song. Yeah, yeah, it's so
Bucky's as in Texas Bucky's as in the beaver?
yeah, yeah, like Bucky's the beaver. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Like it's
nice. Nah, I've not heard that. Tell me about it.
all right, so apparently, so what are your thoughts about AI first? About AI just creating music, maybe being able to substitute vocalists with their own voices, and what is your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on it is still like you still need to know what you're doing at the end of the day. I'm in again, going back to my whole stance on where I sit with Facebook these days, whenever I scan one of the AI groups, everybody in there is complaining about the novelty is worn off and they're sick of it because they thought they just go in and make like super hit records without actually knowing how to craft songs and write songs and make music that people enjoyed. They're just writing off of the novelty. So now they're like, oh, I made all these AI songs, but nobody wants to listen. And I'm like, yeah, because you still don't know how to use it. Like it sounds good, but also we all have access to the same tools. So regarding how I feel about it, I'm down with it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all goes. I've incorporated some of those tools into my workflows, but I also know enough music theory to like back it up. I know rhythms, I DJ, like everything informs my use of it. So I'm not just flying in blind and trying to go with the first thing that works because even when you do that, I don't hear anything spectacular. Like I look for unique things, I look for weird things, and between ChatGPT and other AI tools, it's like they very much cater to like the middle of the road, like very average work, which is gonna sound good, but also doesn't get any reaction or vibe out of people. So I'm down with it. I'm just waiting to see if people can really like use it how it's supposed to be used. Like the dude who did BBL Drizzy, that meme song from like
Yeah.
earlier this year, that was good. And he managed to keep the rights to the song because he actually wrote the lyrics and he's a comedian. So that helped just up the virality. It helped the whole cause of that whole event. But most creators I see with AI, they aren't working on that level. They're just like, oh, look what I did. Yay. Aren't you so proud of me? Can I get a gold star now? And it's kind of
I
like,
mean, that's kind of like how I feel about it,
it's
honestly.
like, it's kind of like, I don't know if you're doing this for a participation trophy.
I mean,
It's like you did
you
it.
know, Bando, I was sitting there and I was having this conversation with an IT technology guy, and with an actual technology, not a music producer, not any of that. He actually works in IT analyst and everything, but he has like
Hmm.
multiple degrees. And we were
Nice.
having this conversation about musicians don't know what to do with this technology because there's a good chance they're very uncreative.
Yeah, I do agree with that to a point, and I realize those same uncreative people are the first ones to say like, "Oh, it's soulless. Oh, it's out for our jobs." Like they just get really fearful because they know that, hey, you may get a lot less calls to go to this studio because they've already cooked up a solution that can do pretty much everything you can. And the way to basically circumvent AI is to just be more clever and do the things that it can't. Like I do remixes. I can recontextualize songs, make them work in different styles, different formats. AIs that I've heard aren't really great with it. Like they can give you a basic idea, but that's all it is a basic idea. So I don't really give in to that kind of fear mongering just because I understand the upper limits of AI. And not only that, it's actually given me a lot of insight as to how the average person thinks. And now I'm like, oh, there's really nothing to worry about because your idea still has to be good. It still has to resonate with people. And the whole attitude of like anybody can do music, it's like, yeah, it's true, but you don't see many breakout stars. Like you don't see many people getting deals off of AIs. You just don't. You don't even see
Well,
like
yeah.
super talented people get record deals and get, SNL, like Saturday Night Live type spots or spots where like everybody's gonna see you. Because we're all kind of working with the same tools, and now it's kind of rewarding novelty and surprise and like the little things that inform the human experience versus programming.
I mean, it's like it's just like a really like loaded question. Like when you talk about AI, it's just kind of
Yeah, it's
one way or
engagement
the
bait.
other. Yeah, but I would definitely tell you to listen to the song "Lucky with Bucky's." That is a
Lucky with
computer
Bucky's.
generated. Yes, it is so corny and cheesy, and it's definitely Texas. Like
Ah, okay, okay. So it's a Texas
it's
one. Tight, tight,
it's
tight. I
definitely
see like something
definitely.
like that people would actually respond to.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like it's one of my favorites. Like you'll hear me jam it out on Sixth Street,
Mm.
and then like right after that, you'll be listening to like "This Is Halloween." I was like,
Wait, do you sing? Do you do karaoke?
I do it when like my friends are there. Like we have to be drinking. Like I do have like one or two Asian friends, and they love karaoke. Like they, especially here, like they fucking love it. And I'm just like, buy me a bucket, and we'll be good. It's like,
Yeah, you're like three in and suddenly you're singing Celine Dion.
yeah, yeah.
All
We're,
right,
we're Titanic. It's like,
sure.
of course, of course. So
Tight.
I wanted to ask you about your creative process. Like, what is the walkthrough? Like, how do you go about this when it comes to writing music and lyrics?
Music and lyrics. So the process is always changing. I try not to get too stuck on repeating myself. So it's always different. And a lot of it is like I realize just observing myself, a lot of it is back end work. Like I'm collecting sounds, ideas, I'm writing stuff down in a notepad for future reference for like lyrics and things like that. It's like, oh, that sounds like that could be a cool title. That's a cool concept. That could be a cool title, things like that. So it's a lot of writing and a lot of researching before I actually lay anything down. When it comes to actually going into the workstation, like I use Ableton Live and I have been for over 5 years. I go in, I lay the most basic parts of the beats or whatever down. I run through the lyric sheet, the idea notebook, and I just kind of the first draft is always the worst draft because I just write down the most basic and cliched things ever. But as long as I got the melodies and I got like the cadence, the flow right, then I just rewrite until it's something that either I can't write anymore or it's something that I like. And I'd probably either perform it either like as a vocalist or in the DJ set, and that's generally the process. I'm also
Oh,
doing stuff like co-writing. However, with co-writing, it's different with other people in the room because everybody thinks that they've got the best idea.
yeah. And that's speaking of co-writing,
Yeah,
I want to talk about some of your collaborations.
cool.
Like, who have you worked with, and who do you would like to work with in the future?
Who have I worked with that someone from Texas would know? Hmm. Got to keep that to myself because we need to see what the final product is. But if we do another interview, I should have an update for you.
We will have
Mostly yeah, I've mostly just worked with local artists in Miami, Austin, and then once I got my head around how I wanted to do it as a solo artist, I just went all in as a solo artist because I wasn't expecting people to come to me. And doing outreach is it's possible. I do outreach. I do go out a lot. I do play the social game, as it were. Only thing with that is it takes time. Everybody's got their own stuff going on. People get sidetracked. So that's why I just was doing I was doing as much as I could by myself with apps, without apps. And it's been this way since I think my first release was like 2018. So just growing and evolving and trying to get better as far as who I've worked with, it's been people like Paper Water in Miami. In Austin, I've been to a number of studio sessions, but I can't really stamp that I've worked with anybody locally. And to be fair, a lot of people in Austin are really, really, really self-sufficient to everyone's credit. So I'm working on the Austin part of the resume to keep a long story short.
okay.
But
And
mostly I'm
also,
just like I'm working I'm basically working solo up until I am no longer working solo. Like I pop in, I give my opinions every here and there, but for the most part, I go to sessions and I go to co-writing and it's like, "Oh, you guys already have this done. You don't need me at all."
I mean, what would they bring you for? Just for your 2 cents?
Uh, yeah, sometimes it has been for my 2 cents. Sometimes recently it's been, oh, we want to work on your stuff, but the problem with me is like I do so much on my own already that I'm not even thinking about, oh, who can I bring in on this? I'm more like, okay, how can I finish this? Or or I just need like a second ear, a second set of opinions. But me just usually bring me in for like writing and production, possibly background vocals, and just all around ideas. Like I just try to keep in the flow of creativity and I contribute wherever I can, wherever I wanted to be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like brainstorming is a thing that a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people do that anymore. It's like brainstorming like options that they have.
In my experience, they do. It's just you have to look for what resonates with everybody in the room and not just your set of experiences, unless it's like a shared thing. But yeah, people do brainstorm, people write all the time, they perform stuff all the time. There's a lot of singer-songwriters in Austin and a lot of instrumental players. Now, the funny thing is, apparently everybody knows each other, but they don't work with each other. Or if you're in a band, they work with each other, but they don't know each other. Like they don't go out to Sixth Street to like grab a beer or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
literally just coworkers.
that's kind of what I've noticed. Like, but here in Austin, like everybody, I'm not gonna say everybody, but there's a lot of people that they want to be actors and actresses. They want to be musicians. They want to be social media influencers, and they want to be part of the tech world. They want to be part of all these things here in Austin.
Yeah, you only have 24 hours though.
It's like, and I wanted to ask you about your hobbies. Like, what are the hobbies that you have?
To be fair, when you asked me this the first time, I was like, yeah, so I was watching like a video game lore video, but as far as hobbies, it's pretty much down to music and fitness.
Oh yeah.
And then I make time to explore other things like I like food. I I enjoy Austin's food and drink scene. I do keep up to date on technology, but as far as hobbies like, oh, woodworking, oh, I play backgammon. These
No,
days,
nothing like that.
I need time. I need time. I don't have time for hobbies, and I think making music the way I do it is enough of a video game that it's kind of interchangeable as like job, hobby, job, hobby. Uh, I used to read books once upon a time, and I have to get back into that habit. I just don't really make time for it.
And I want to ask you also about the industry evolution. Like, how have
Industry
you,
evolution.
yeah, like how have you seen it since when you first started making music to now?
The evolution of which industry? Music?
Of music, of the music.
How has it evolved? It has the barriers to entry are a lot lower, but because of that, you've got so many people trying to get into the same industry and do the same thing as everybody else and the people you look up to that it's not as it's extremely democratic, but also you've also seen the realities of it because you've got so many people on the inside, you've got people reporting, you've got people at the labels talking about like, hey, so this is what we don't want to hear, and y'all keep sending us music that we told you we don't want to hear. So the industry itself, from the business side, things have gotten a lot leaner and a lot more democratic as far as who who's sending what. Because you could literally be like Skrillex and do everything on your laptop and pop off a whole new sound that everybody follows for 10 years. And in the case of rap, it's definitely been more democratic because home studios, people got their own scenes. Like there's a lot of artists in Austin making money and they'll never have to leave Austin because they just have like a built-in crowd. I say artists, not so much rappers. Rap in Austin is a very weird relationship I'm coming to see, but as far as people who can just build their own crowds and you're able to make a living from it, music industry in totality, it's great. It's going to keep getting better and it's going to keep getting a lot more easy access. We have plenty of free tools and some of these things were it wasn't as not cost effective, but the lowered cost of entry is allowing a lot more talented people in. So I like that. The only downside is now it's like you have a lot of creators and the number of consumers is becoming really, really narrow. It's like hard to find audiences, basically.
Well, I like to think so, but I mean, like, I honestly think the audience is kind of exploring more like a global music.
Yeah.
Like right now, I've been listening to a lot of Bruno Mars because he's just been making a lot of good music, just killing it right now.
Hmm. Okay. I was at Hawaii. We they do helicopter tours and you can like see his house from 1,000 feet up. It's crazy.
That's funny. Yeah, I was just listening to the Lady Gaga song.
Ooh, okay. What'd you
She
think?
did one. Oh, I liked it a lot. I was really blown away by it. And then next thing you know, I'm getting the one where he's him and what's oh, I'm gonna mess it up. The new song that they just did, her and I think it's Jenny. It's not Jenny. It's from Blackpink.
Ah, yeah, yeah, I know that song. That one is actually a banger. I
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's so catchy. Like
I
shit. I could
yeah, it's a
listen to
fun
that one.
yeah, it's a very fun song. He's like playing it all the time at his club lounge in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's really good. Man, I should look it up right now before the people get mad at me. It's like,
Who would get mad at you?
oh well, people listen to this. People listen
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh no, no, I know people listen
it's
to it. I didn't
like,
know they were like that kind of like, oh, you messed up this fact at like 1 hour 46 minutes in.
oh yeah, yeah, bro. Like my email is directly on the YouTube channel, so they can directly email me, so I get to read it all.
Ooh. How much of it is we love you, keep going versus like we hate you, you got to change the format?
Oh no, I hear that all the time. Like, you're doing it fucking wrong, bitch. This is not how you do it. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Or like, go review vampire movies. I was like,
How do you feel about vampire movies?
I like it. I used to be a huge, huge horror fan.
Used to be?
I used to be, but I kind of like getting back into, I kind of get back into like foreigner movies right now. Like, like I just started watching Hellbound. I don't know if you ever watched what Hellbound on
I've
Netflix.
heard of Hellbound, yeah.
It's really cool. Like it's a really cool Korean show.
Ooh, okay, okay, okay.
So the premise is that hell comes and they tell you who's going to die and they send demons to murder that person.
All right.
So you get to see like this bubble or whatever it is comes up out of nowhere and like Roger's going to get murdered in 3 days. And then they send like these hellbound demons to go out there and they murder. It's like they go
Does he
murder like
fight back?
I mean they all fight back, but anybody can get murdered, and they're like this little child, poor little child's like the next kid to get it, and they're just like, oh, how are they going to do this to this little kid? And sure enough, they do it. It's like,
Dang.
look, I am Batman. So I want to talk a little bit about your travels around the world.
Sure.
Like, where have you been, and what have you done, and what is your experience?
My experience of traveling around the world. So, very early on into my DJ career, I got basically put in contact with someone who was working with like Carnival cruises at the time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're looking for DJs." I'm like, "Okay, well, I want to DJ, I want to travel. Tell me what's up." I got flown to the Bahamas a little while after that conversation, and I was working with Carnival just as a staff DJ, so I'd be on the ship for like months at a time, and use that literally just use that as a way to travel, see the world. The work schedule is super easy, so I was like, all right, cool. And I ended up working with them for a year and change. That stopped. I got on with another agency a few years later, went to Singapore for the first time. Yeah, went to Singapore, did a few other ports, and just like via cruise ships flying me out as like a guest entertainer. So that means I like do my job and I don't have to do trainings and all that stuff. I can just go in, do the job, and then whatever else I want to do with my time is up to me. And I did that with about 3 or 4 different companies. And had the latest project had me on a private island for like a month. That was kind of a lot more of an adventure than I expected because every morning would be like, oh, you wake up early, maybe the bus is there that takes us to the actual island, maybe it's not. take like two water taxis to get there, do like a whole sign in with the government. Then I go DJ for a few hours, then repeat the whole process to get back to the island in which I lived. And that was just like my life for a month.
So you had to check in with the government just to DJ?
Yeah. Cause it's like a joint venture between, I think it was Norwegian Cruise Lines and the Bahamian government. So essentially, they're operating on foreign soil, or they have some kind of joint venture thing worked out. But you have to check in, you have to get a visa, so on and so forth. And I've mentioned the Bahamas twice because it's like literally the bookend of two chapters, like the start, and then I wouldn't say it's the end, but I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be back there for a while. And in between, basically managed to go to countries in Europe, the Caribbean, definitely, South America, Australia, Asia, pretty much all the every continent except the African continent, and I want to do that plus the Middle East at some point, but it probably wouldn't be through a ship situation. It's like more like I'd have to figure out like a tour or something.
I mean, really,
But interested in going.
all you gotta do is get with Ja Rule. I don't know if you know.
Oh, I know who Ja Rule is. I would consider. I'll consider it. I'll consider it. It's just not the person who I like would have pegged at the top of the list for. Oh yeah, he's on tour. He's always looking for people.
Well, he actually has a contract with the African countries. Yeah, like he's one of the American musicians that actually travels over there and plays over there.
Ooh, nice, 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 nice,
That's
nice.
the only
Good
reason
for
why I
him.
throw that out there. I'm pretty sure if you send him an email,
Oh,
like he's not nearly as big as he is, but he's still Ja Rule. Like he's still,
yeah, he's still like name brand Joe.
yeah, yeah, and he still has, he'll always have gigs, no matter how big or small.
Pretty, yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I always talk about with like music friends who have big dreams. It's kind of like, hey, you could either do the supply side where you're just selling music to different companies and they're putting them in their advertisements, or you can try the superstar route through the label where you're just giving them albums and stuff, and hopefully you can like make a career out of that. So, um, yeah. So basically, DJing is how I managed to accomplish pretty much not all of my travel goals, but enough of them where it's like, oh, I have a sizable history. I've been to these places, not just on a ship, but actually DJing on the land. And it's funny because in all this time I was traveling around the world, I haven't really explored the continental US nearly as in depth.
The one
Like
country you live in.
the one country yeah, the country that gave me like everything I have, and I haven't explored all 50 states. It's weird. Like been up and down the East Coast, been through most of the West Coast, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, but the interior of the US is like the most I can say for some places is like I was at the airport, but that's not really traveling. That's like you're just in between stuff.
I think the only like I went to go work in Sacramento, California,
Yeah.
and I remember when the actual producer of the podcast, he's like, "Ah, I don't have a hotel for you," and I'm like, but he didn't tell me that until I actually like got off the plane and they picked
Oh
me
wow.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely fun, and I'm like, and I can't pay you what I said I was going to pay you. And it was double fun. And I'm just like, you pay for my flight to get me over here. And I'm like, well, what can you pay me? Well, we can only pay you like X amount of dollars. And I'm like, that's fine. So what really? That's you'll do it for that? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm already here. What the hell do you want me to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I've been in those situations too where it's like, hey, listen, you flew me out on your dime or somebody else's dime. I didn't pay for this out of pocket. So anything else that happens, I'm already here. I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah, I was like, all right, like I'll help you make this up. I'll help you make the podcast happen. So you'll still do it? Like for real? It's like, yeah, yeah. Well, where you gonna stay? Like, I'm gonna stay on your couch.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna, no, I'm gonna stay at your place. I'm not trying to hear anything else about like you dragged me here. And it wasn't even a drag. It became a drag me here when he told me that he didn't have a room for me.
Yeah. 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 I've been fortunate to have agents who kind of looked out for me in that respect, where it's like, hey, you already flew me out. Now we just need to get it. Now we just need to figure out like where I'm staying. And yeah, when it comes to ships, that would happen a lot where it's like, oh yeah, your room's supposed to be this. Oh, just kidding. It's really supposed to be over here. Oh, aren't you supposed to be on this side? And it's like a Hydra, but rather than have like 10 heads working as one, it's 10 heads that all bite each other.
It's like nobody knows what's going on.
Nobody, yeah, yeah. Oh, believe me, the whole reason that I'm even able to get gigs like that and do better than most people who get them is because I can think fast and I operate in like a gray area. So it's like, okay, well, you have me here as a guest. I got to figure out my own way around. Nobody really knows what to do with me, so I'm going to do what I want. And worst come to worst, I'll just be like, "Oh yeah, sorry, didn't know. They don't train me for these. I'm just here for the one thing. Sorry."
That's funny that you said the train me part. I went to Orlando to go and do a show,
Mm-hmm.
and their producer apparently backed out when I got there. So they had nobody like the host, which I can't say because it's on a completely different platform.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's actually on like a paywall platform, so I can't
Of
really
course.
like. But their producer didn't show, like no showed, and they're just kind of like they didn't know how to use the equipment at all. And I'm sitting
Yeah.
there like, well, let me go look at it. And then when I was looking at it, it's like $50,000 equipment. I'm like, I deal with like $500 equipment. I don't know how to use this stuff.
Yeah. Is it a really big gap between the 500 and the 50,000?
Well, yeah, like I'm using $500 equipment. Like I
Right.
have a voice caster too. I have a pod mic and everything that comes with it, as well as like, which it adds up to like $500, which that's really what you essentially you need.
For home recording, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like my mic is not really all that expensive either, but it works for me. I can take it on the go and I can like if I need to get songs laid down, like I just need to start rapping or whatever, I can at least get that down and then I can like fix it in post. I can fix it later, but at least I can actually catch recordings and I can do stuff on the road. That's literally how Coastal Plus, like that last collection of music that I made, was made. It was like literally just me recording while I was on the road and not being in one place at one time. But I'm like, oh, I need songs for my DJ sets that I was getting booked for. So I need to just do stuff that's in the direction, just try it out whenever possible.
Yeah, and then like what saved me was the fact that they actually had pod mics. So that kind of helped because I was familiar with pod mics. Like they had these other mics that were like crystal dynamic, whatever. They glow in the dark and they float in the air. And I'm like, I'm not gonna. We're just gonna throw those aside. Like I don't know how to
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah.
Like rig out with a pod. Well, we do normally don't use these pod mics. I'm like, well, you're using them today if I'm doing it for you.
Yeah. How did that go in the end?
It went amazing. It went amazing because they had like 20-foot cords because everything led into the actual computer. And it wasn't even like it was a big computer that led into the sound keys, where the hell it is.
Yeah.
Because like that's all like foreign territory to me. Like yeah, I can do it all on a laptop pretty easily. But when you
Yeah.
give me like all the equipment of like an actual studio, I still had to like to mess with it to get it to work. Because those are like fully paid people that know how to do everything. And I'm just like some Joe Smo that just like trial and error. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I feel when I'm in like expensive recording studios. I'm just like, No, I do everything in the laptop. I'm not sure about the wiring to all these racks of gear and things I can't even pronounce. I'm like, yeah, I work in the laptop.
Hmm. But it went pretty well. It went pretty well. Like he sent his assistant to go buy more pod mics.
Nice.
Yeah, because he's like, what's so special about pod mics? Well, pod mics are really good. Like
Look at you being influential.
they are really good. Like, bro, I could tell you. Like, I wouldn't want to use anything else but a pod mic. And but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and by the way, everybody, the Bruno Mars songs that we were talking about is Bruno Mars and Rose, and it's called Apartments.
Do it.
Yep. And then
Banger.
the other one is Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga, and it's Die with a Smile. Yes, so I looked it up so y'all don't have to jump my ass.
Jump him anyway, just for fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. By the way, your inspiration for music, like who inspires you?
Who inspires me these days? It's always changing because I'm always listening to different things and trying different things out. I will say, if we're asking what I'm doing when I'm not making music, I've been going into a lot of like Pharrell Williams and like Neptune's documentaries, like stuff that's just been stashed on YouTube for a while because he released a Lego movie that was like loosely inspired by his life. And I was like, this is cool, but it's also very, very manicured and curated. And I need to go back on this music that I've been listening to for some time. So I started looking at old interviews and like mini documentaries and things like that. So I would say the old Neptune stuff, rap wise, it's always been like Jay-Z, Vibes Cartel, and Drake. And then lately I've been exploring a lot of YouTube playlists, a lot of Apple Music playlists for new weird genres. I'm listening to stuff out of Angola, out of Brazil, internet type music that you only hear in like gym fail videos, stuff that like reaches me via TikTok. So I would say I am inspired by like the world around me, current events, and then I just go and I listen to I was listening to a lot of the Neptune stuff recently, and then beyond that, just exploring new genres of music. Not to just DJ with, but just I was really interested in, hey, how does this work? Also, a lot of boiler room DJ sets because post pandemic, it's like the vibe now is like, oh, take DJing out of the club, and now you can do it in anything from a coffee shop, somebody's apartment, a laundry. There is literally a YouTube show where they just DJ in like a Korean laundromat.
Hell,
Yeah, seriously, it's fascinating just because I'm like, oh, you guys really like push the format to take it out of the clubs, and now we're just playing out anywhere. All right, cool. But as far as specific individuals that I think about every time I like write, it lyrically, I just kind of try to channel different people at different times depending on what the vibe of the project or song is. And yeah, I just try to keep myself like learning and exploring as much as I possibly can.
and then I wanted to talk to you about your last project.
Cool.
Like, how was it? How did it work out?
Um, it's still working. It's still working out as far as it took me a while just because I knew what I wanted to do. I was just trying to I spent way too much time on production and not enough time on actually writing because, I was traveling, I was DJing, I was trying to knock out pockets of time where I could actually just sit down, write, record in the middle of like 20 different things going on. But it it turned out pretty well. I'm still playing and performing it like every chance I get, and it's mostly just like dance music, rap music through like a global lens. So I'm using sounds and instruments from other countries, like it's like some Asian influences, some African influences, Caribbean, North America, South America, places like that to just make it something that people want to dance to basically.
Yeah. Do you happen to have any like special projects that you hold dear to yourself?
Nah.
No, nothing like
Um,
that. You don't have any.
I here's the thing, right? So going back to how musicians treat their music and everybody, I try not to be precious about the art. You know what I mean? Like once it's released, I'm just like, all right, cool, that's done. I need to make sure that I'm not repeating myself on whatever comes next. So there's nothing that really I'm like that I really like hold really near and dear to my heart. I do appreciate everything that I'm done and everything that I'm gonna be doing. And I would say it just kind of informs me on like how to get better or different pockets I can reach, different kind of crowds I can reach for whatever may happen next.
And then, did you have anything else before we actually leave off?
Did I have anything else? Hmm. Working on new music, weekly residency at Moxie University in Austin. I'm there every Tuesday, Wednesday from like 7 to 9 p.m. until February. So come in. It's a good show. Rapping, DJing. They will not let me use pyrotechnics. They will not let me use confetti cannons. And I think we're really missing out. So if you book things like South by Southwest or ACL, get in contact with me. I know how to have a good time and I know how to be a good time and I know how to make y'all money while having a good time. So get in touch with me. He's got my socials. So let's make the magic happen soon.
So, where is that university at, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh yeah, it's a hotel. So it's the Moxie Hotel, which is like a famous Marriott hotel brand, I think. And it's on Guadalupe near University of Texas in Austin.
Oh, it's pretty close to downtown then.
Yeah. It's literally the north side of downtown at UT, and there's like a hotel there. So the lobby's usually everybody from locals to travelers to students, and it's a very interesting mix of people. And they host parties and stuff there all the time. A lot of after hours stuff for conferences because you know how Austin loves its tech conferences.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
they
love
go there. They go there, and I have reason to believe that at least $1 billion deal was made in that lobby.
it.
At least one.
And then also, I wanted to bring up like, what are your future plans? Like, what do you have lined up?
Let's see. I'm trying to make more moves in the television and film musical end of things. I also want to make more dance floor club type music. So as far as music, just keep the energy going, release often, try to make everything as good as I can. Outside of that, I think some touring, some travels, looking for agency representation too. So on the business end is like, oh, I've been doing this myself for a long time. Now I'm at that point where I'm like, oh, I need to actually humble myself and actually get other ears and eyes on what I'm doing if I'm going to keep doing this for the rest of my life, which is the ultimate goal. Also, next few months, I think more stage performances, so evenly split my time between DJing and stage performances. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so everybody knows, all the links and everything will be in the descriptions. So whenever they come and look, you will be able to find him.
Yes. I'm on Spotify, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Apple Music. It's pretty much I'm not a terribly hard person to find once you know what you're looking
All right. Well, thank you, boss.
for. Thank you, boss.